What's the best aquarium size for fill in the blank? What's the best aquarium size for beginners? What's the best size for this specific fish? In this video, we're going to answer all of those questions and more. This is a dummy's guide to aquarium size. Let's start this off with beginners. If you're brand new to this, my answer might surprise you. A lot of people that are brand new to this might automatically assume that larger aquariums are more difficult to keep than smaller ones. Well, guess what? This is absolutely not true. Think of it like this. If you're in a small room with someone that's smoking a cigarette, it's not going to take very long before that room is unbearable. Sorry, smokers. I used to be one of you. But you know it stinks, right? Now imagine being with that same smoker, only this time you're in a room that's the size of a movie theater. It's still not ideal, but much easier to deal with. Well, fish tanks are the same way. If you have 3 fish in a tiny aquarium, it doesn't take long for the water in there to get all fouled up from uneaten food and fish waste. You put those same fish in a larger tank and it'll take much longer for all that water to get nasty. So believe it or not, the larger the tank is, the easier it is to keep, and you won't have to do nearly as much work on it as you would a small one. Does this mean I'm saying if you're a new fish keeper, you should start off with a big old 300-gallon tank? Of course not. But I'm saying don't assume you need to buy a small one to make things easier. If you're looking at a 29-gallon and you're thinking it's a great size, but you think it would be too hard, think again. The best advice I could give you is buy as big as your budget will allow. I'm not saying go crazy and get something like you'd see on that show Tanked. I'm saying look at your budget and get as big a tank as possible that'll fit within that budget, whatever the budget is. Okay, you want an exact size? Fine. Go with a 29 or a 55-gallon aquarium. I know that sounds crazy to start off with something like that, but like I said, it's going to be a lot easier to take care of, and you're going to be able to avoid the next potential problem that I'm going to let Lisa talk to you about.
This is something that almost every person who's ever kept a fish tank has said. I don't have a tank big enough to put the fish in right now, but I'll just stick them in a smaller tank and get a bigger one when I can afford it. In my opinion, this decision has probably made more fish suffer than any other in the hobby. Believe me, I know how hard this is. In fact, I'm guilty of it myself. When I first got in this hobby, I was at the store with John and saw an arowana and had to have it. Even though John told me my tank wasn't big enough and didn't want me to get him, I did it anyway. And to be honest, I still feel guilty about it. But just so you know, when the arowana got to be about 1 foot long, we put him in a 6-foot tank and then eventually moved him up to an 8-foot tank. But unfortunately, most fish keepers won't do that. I'm not saying they intentionally torture the fish. I'm saying they have the best intentions, but things happen. Your car breaks down, you get a surprise bill in the mail, or you don't get that Christmas bonus you thought you were going to get. Life gets in the way of your plans, and you aren't able to get that bigger tank you wanted, and what happens? Your fish gets stuck in that tank that you know is too small. It's just not fair. Trust me, if anyone knows how hard this is, it's me. But let me tell you, that guilt, it'll never go away, and it really sucks. So if you're at a store and you see a fish that's just too big for the tank that you have, just walk away and go back when you have the right size tank.
Everyone knows the answer to that question. It's 1 inch per gallon. So if you go to the pet store and the tag says the fish is going to get 8 inches long, that means it can go in an 8-gallon tank. Come on, man. Okay, I am totally kidding, of course. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard about the hobby, and to be honest, I have no idea where it came from, but it's still prevalent to this day. We even had somebody very recently comment about this in one of our videos just a couple of weeks ago. I have no idea who started this nonsense. Oh, and don't worry, Lisa didn't really slap me. It's okay, I'm fine. You don't have to call the cops. Just having a little fun. I made my point though, didn't I? All right, listen, let's get serious now. There's no set rule on what size aquarium you need for a specific fish. Yes, there's guidelines and suggested sizes, but let's be real. If these fish were in the wild, they'd have hundreds of thousands of gallons, if not miles of river to swim through. So if you really want to get technical, there's no such thing as the right-sized aquarium. We're keeping these fish confined to a glass box. So let's take this seriously and do the right thing. Whatever the guideline says, double that. If someone says the fish you want needs to be in a 10-gallon, get a 20-gallon. If they say, yeah, an Oscar will be fine in a 75-gallon, get a 150-gallon. Just trust me on this one. Your fish will be happier and healthier, and like I said earlier, it's going to be way easier to take care of. So it is a win-win situation for everyone.
Every multiple tank syndrome sufferer's favorite time of the year, and that is the Petco's $1 per gallon sale. But is it really the best time to buy an aquarium? Well, yes and no. It depends on what you're planning on doing. Now listen, John and I love Petco. Our local Petco is amazing, so we're certainly not trying to disparage them. We just want to make you aware of how all of this works. Being in the business, we know that fish stores don't make money on tanks. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's true. So if pet stores don't make money on tanks, then why do they sell them? Well, it's because they do make money on all the other stuff that they sell, like the decorations, the filtration, and the fish. The reason I'm telling you this is not to talk bad about Petco. It's to make you aware that if you're waiting for the Petco $1 per gallon sale, you might be wasting a bunch of time that you could have been enjoying your tank. By the time you buy the tank, lid, filter, heater, light, and decorations, it's all going to add up to a lot, whether it's the $1 per gallon or not. You'll be pretty upset if you finally go to Petco, gather up all the stuff you need, and get up to the counter and realize, I waited 3 months to do all of this and I only saved $9?
Okay, this is it. This is the one piece of advice that I'm going to give you that's going to bring it all together, and you won't have to ask any more questions. Are you ready? Decide what fish you want to keep prior to buying your tank. If you do this, then you'll know exactly what size aquarium you need, and the mystery is solved. I'm willing to guess that it was fish that brought you here. You saw a fish and thought it was beautiful or cool looking, and that got you interested in buying a fish tank. It wasn't the actual aquarium that drew you in. Well, if I'm right, then research that fish and what its requirements are. If it was angelfish and you're doing your research and everything tells you angels need to be in a 29-gallon, then you know what you need to get. But remember what we've been talking about this whole time. Bigger is not only better, but it's also easier. So to make this even easier, take my advice from earlier and double that. I know the math doesn't add up exactly, but you'd be moving up to a 55-gallon because that's the next closest thing. So let's bring all of this together. For one reason or another, you've decided you want an aquarium, you've done your research, you've looked around, and you've decided that you want to keep angelfish. And the rule book says angels need to be in at least a 29-gallon tank. But you're going to take my advice and you're going to double that and get a 55-gallon. You get your tank and all of the equipment that you need to go with it, you bring it all home, and it's time to set it up. But before you do that, I want to give you an assignment that is absolutely critical. You need to watch this video right here. Just don't ask any questions, just watch it. Now you have your 55 gallons set up and cycled and you're ready to go back to get your 4 angelfish. But while you've been doing all this, you also learned that with only 4 angels in there, you've got plenty of room for more fish. So you grab 5 or 6 Cory cats, a bristlenose pleco, and 10 neon tetras. This is turning into a real community tank. You have a gorgeous tank with plenty of activity and some good variety of different types of fish in here. And since you followed my advice, you got a larger tank, which is going to be easier to take care of. So you have this beautiful thing that's easy to take care of. This is actually a fun hobby. And that's what this hobby is all about. It's about having fun. If you're not having fun, you're just going to bail. And we don't want that. We want this hobby to affect your life just like it did ours. So the answer to the title of this video is yes, size does matter. Insert whatever joke you want to here. Thank you so much for watching, and until I see you again, take care.